around us there are cranes. Flats are being built left, right and centre. Everyone wants to get their feet on the property ladder. Is that necessarily a good thing? Hello and welcome to another episode of Set Up for Success. My name is Tracy Ansah and today I have my husband Richard Ansah on the show, and we're going to be discussing various topics around the issue of property. So, do you have a home? Is property something you're interested in? Have you already got your foot on the ladder? Are your children wanting to get your foot on their feet on the ladder, not your foot on the ladder, their feet on the ladder? If this is something you're interested in, you're not going to want to miss this episode. So, the first thing I'd like to talk about with my husband is, do you think now is a good time to be buying property?
Cool. Well, thanks for the question. Thanks for having me, by the way, Tracy. Before I answer the question, maybe I should qualify why me and why am I even qualified to even talk about this subject in the first place. I used to invest in property heavily. In fact, I started out in the mortgage industry. I had my own mortgage business, and I helped a lot of people purchase their own homes, whether it's for investment, whether it's for residential basis as well. And I was very good at what I did. Okay. Now I teach passionately about helping people to become more literate with money and finance and understanding what's going on. And my whole agenda is, if you can learn the rules of the game, then you can learn to play the game better. So some of my views and opinions you may or may not agree with, and I appreciate that. What I will say, don't take anything I say at face value. Do your own research, and you may or may not agree with me, or it might even help you to make better choices going forward. Okay. So to answer your question effectively, in fact, you need to remind me of the question. Apologies. Here's me getting all excited.
Do you think now is a good time to be getting your feet on the property ladder?
Great question. There's a long and short answer, so I'm going to give you a short answer. So I'll be talking for England, which I don't need to do that right now. And what I would say before I answer the question is, don't take anything I say as gospel. Do your own research, okay? But the answer is no. I think this is probably the worst time ever to be buying a home, okay? And just to qualify that very briefly, most people buy a home using someone else's money, i.e. the bank, okay? And so money or loans at the moment are really, really cheap because interest rates are pretty much zero. So to put it into context, if 5 people were able to achieve a loan of £200,000, and there's only one property on a particular street that everyone wanted to buy, okay, obviously supply and demand will drive up the price based on the fact that 5 people are happy to spend up to 200 grand for a house that's only worth really £100,000. But if they really want it, they're going to bid 110,000, 120,000, 130,000, etc., until they reach a point that no one agrees that that price of the house is actually worth that amount. So let's say it sells at £180,000, and the person, because they can afford it, pays £180,000. Now that's what's going on. That's been happening for the last X number of years, but significantly since 2007, since the last major financial crash. So what does that mean? I personally think that house prices are well overinflated, whether it's in London or not, but especially in major cities. And so number two, why would you want to buy a property that's overinflated? And just to conclude really quickly, if you're going to be a savvy person with money, like any investor who buys any asset at all, you want to buy low and sell high, okay? If you're going to buy a peak of a property bubble, in other words, that the house market is overinflated already, and so what happens, it has to now depreciate in pricing, then you're going to experience some problems, negative equity, so you can't liquidate the home, rising interest rates, okay, which even people who are currently own homes are going to experience that if they don't have a fixed rate, and that's going to really feel pain in their pockets. Even if you look at history, and Winston Churchill said, the further back in history you go, the further forward in the future you can predict. Ultimately, a lot of people may end up losing their homes purely due to ignorance and poor planning. And those who have been waiting for this time, and there's like Les Brown says,
you got to be ready.
You got to be hungry.
Hungry.
Drink. They're waiting. They're waiting for this time. So when the pain, or as Rockefeller says, when the blood hits the streets, they're going to be buying up the property, and there's going to be a wealth transfer taking place. So I'm keeping it as brief as I can. But I personally don't think it's the best time to buy a property in the UK at all.
So it's similar to, for example, in December, when everybody's buying, that January sales are coming.
Yeah.
So instead of buying a pair of shoes, for example, for £150, you wait it out for a few weeks till January, where you know that the price you get it for half price. Yeah. I suppose the only difference is we don't know when that bubble is going to burst.
Exactly.
So you just have to, I suppose, exercise patience. Really.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I heard a lot of people say that a house is an asset. Do you think that a house is an asset?
I can think and understand why people would say a house is an asset. Based on my last example, you're seeing prices increase. Historically, house prices will increase every 7 to 10 years. So they would consider that to be an asset base. As an investor, fine. As a homeowner, what is really an investment? Something that pays money into your pocket. If you have a mortgage, money's coming out of your pocket. And if it doesn't, then someone's going to take the house away. That's not an asset. So I don't believe owning a home is an asset. Okay, from that point of view, because at the end of the day, you have to service a debt every single month to maintain that house, else you won't keep it. Okay, as an investor, someone else is paying that. Ideally, someone else is paying that debt, so it's not coming out of your pocket, and you're ideally making a profit every month, or if you're breaking even over a period of time. If you sell that property, so you've got a capital gain, or you're getting a monthly income. So there's two different ways of producing income from an investment point of view. As a homeowner, you're not making any income unless you've got lodgers in the home paying you income for a particular room, or multiple rooms are let out in the house that you're still living in. So ultimately someone's paying that for you, or you go on holidays often and you use Airbnb. Then I can maybe argue that house is an investment for you. But other than that, I disagree.
It's not an asset, okay. Yeah. So I've heard other people say that renting, that's just throwing your money away, that's just dead money. What's your view on renting?
I think it's a valid point. But again, I just see it as, if I want to take you out to a nice fine dining restaurant and spend £200 on the meal, some people say, well, why would you spend £200 on the meal that might cost you £20? If I can afford it and I get enjoyment out of that, and I'm happy, then why not? And I look at rent the exact same way. I'm just paying for a service or a product, a roof over my head for my family, and I'm renting. And you can even utilize, if you're working from home, you can do so many ways to utilize that to your advantage, and make that a positive thing. So I don't see renting as negative. I think it's just a stigma that's been played, especially in this country. There are many European countries around the world where renting is the thing to do. And ultimately, if you look at it from an equitable point of view, someone else is responsible to maintain that house. You're just responsible to pay for it every month. So you don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to worry about something breaks down, how to fix it, which is an expense if you were to own a home. Okay, you don't have to worry about necessarily carpeting it and redecorating it, unless it's something you personally want to do. But you would have rented a house in the area and the type of house that you want, because it fits your taste. Okay, so you maintain it. So your only job as a renter is to pay the rent to enjoy the privileges of that home. It's nice and simple, and it's just one expense or cost coming out of your pocket beyond, say, regular bills, etc. You could argue being a homeowner is far more expensive than being a renter, especially if you look at the mortgage point of view as well.
I suppose on the upkeep of the home over 25 years, the amount of money you spend on maintaining the
Exactly.
home,
It's
fixing
significant.
it
Yeah.
up, updating it, renovating it, insurance.
Okay. Plus a mortgage, typically you're paying back 7 times the amount you originally borrowed based on the interest. Okay, I know interest is zero-ish at the moment, but historically that's still you're still paying a lot back, over the years. So there's an argument to factor in as well.
Okay. I suppose that the benefits to buying your own home is that there's something to pass on to your children, leaving them a legacy, leaving them an inheritance. Whereas if you've rented, you've paid off someone else's mortgage, you've left someone else's children something, whereas your children, what have you left them? So,
well, look, these are very valid points. Again, this is my opinion. Okay, repeat after me. My opinion, Richard's opinion. Okay, if renting the house, buying a home, that's not the only way to leave a legacy for your child. Okay, because anything happen and you might not be even in a position to pay off that mortgage. God forbid. Okay, most people have a vehicle to pay off the mortgage, whether it's some kind of investment, or you've got a mortgage where you can pay the capital and the interest. So over a period of time, there'll be no debt at the end of that month period of the mortgage or the loan, which is fine. You've also got to sell the house for the children to actually realise any liquidity or any money. Or if you plan, we talked about wills in a previous episode. You can plan to gift that to your child or children for them to benefit after you pass away or whilst you're alive, depending on the value of the home and inheritance and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into it now. However, for those who don't have any kind of mortgage at all and just rent exclusively, and I'm not giving advice here, you need to get further information for yourself, but I'm a big proponent of things like life insurance investment. Okay, if you just invest wisely, and I'm not about saving in the bank or anything like that, you can build up a legacy for your child. Life insurance, you don't even have to worry about investing. What's a certainty? Death is a certainty. Okay, something like whole of life insurance. Okay, and again, this is not advice in any way, shape or form. I'm a big fan of that because you can pay a set amount of money each month and guarantee 50 grand, 100 grand for your child upon death, whether that's tomorrow or 50 years from now. But ultimately, your child is guaranteed a payout as long as you obviously maintain that monthly payment of the whole of life insurance. That's absolutely fantastic. So now that they're guaranteed a lump sum, you could even make sure that it's linked to inflation, for example. So they're not even going to get 100 grand, as you said. It might be a work out 200 grand at the end of 15, 20, 30 years, whatever it might be. So at least that is one way to set up your child. In my opinion, owning a business or teaching your child to run a business is the ultimate investment strategy. If they can learn to make money, because think about it, stocks and shares is just you investing in someone else's business. Why not learn to run a business yourself? Or get your child to learn how to run a business. Those things are imperative. It's not the only way to leave a legacy for a child is just through owning the house and say, here you go once I die. That's not the only way to do it. There are many, many ways, in my opinion, to set up our children for greater things in life in the event of their parents pass away.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you, Richard. I've learned loads. I hope you have too. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the comments below. And once again, please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please also do share these with your friends and family because I think these are really important issues that we're discussing to set our children up for success in the future. So until next week, thank you for watching Set Up for Success.
Thank you.